Aaliyah Boston just snapped. And I mean snapped. The internet is exploding right now. Social media is on fire. And what happened on that Unrivaled court? It's got WNBA fans choosing sides, throwing punches in the comments, and demanding answers. This wasn't just basketball. This was personal. Now, before we dive into this absolute chaos, because trust me, this story goes deep in the headlines, let me paint the picture for you. Let me show you exactly what went down. Because what Caitlin Clark teammate Alyssa Thomas did, and how Aaliyah Boston responded, this changes everything we thought we knew about the soft-spoken star from South Carolina. Look, Caitlin Clark teammate Aaliyah Boston is known for being classy, professional, the kind of player who lets her game speak. She won Rookie of the Year. She's a WNBA All-Star, a national champion. The list of accolades? It's insane. Naismith Player of the Year, AP Player of the Year, Wooden Award, Wade Trophy, 4-time Lisa Leslie Center of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, First Team All-American, 3 times. This woman doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. But in that Unrivaled game, something changed. The play that set everything off? Aaliyah Boston absolutely swatted Alyssa Thomas's shot into the shadow realm, just completely rejected it. And what did Alyssa Thomas do next? She got in Aaliyah's face, started talking trash, doing what she always does. But Aaliyah, she didn't back down. Not this time. Cameras caught her heated, frustrated, saying things that made even the commentators pause. And then she got pushed to the sideline. Teammates had to step in. The energy was thick, tensions boiling over, and fans couldn't believe what they were witnessing. This is Aaliyah Boston we're talking about, the woman who hugs opponents after games, the player everyone calls kind. And now, she's trending for a confrontation that's got people calling Unrivaled the new UFC. But here's the part nobody's talking about yet. This moment, it didn't come out of nowhere. There's a reason Aaliyah was so heated. There's a reason this boiled over now, at this exact moment in the season. And what I'm about to reveal to you, it might explain everything. Let's rewind for a second. Because what happened on that court? It wasn't just about one blocked shot. It wasn't just about trash talk. This goes way deeper. And if you don't understand the history, the tension that's been building for months, you'll miss the whole story. So let me break it down. Aaliyah Boston came into this Unrivaled season with something to prove. Last year, she struggled. She admitted it. The competition was fierce. The format was different. And some people, not gonna lie, started questioning whether she could hang with the elite when the game got physical. But this year, she came back different. In that very game where everything exploded, Aaliyah Boston dropped 23 points. She grabbed 6 rebounds. She had 2 steals, 2 blocks, shot 9 of 16 from the field. She was absolutely cooking, playing alongside Kelsey Plum. And Kelsey Mitchell? She was right there with her. 24 points, shooting 64% from the field. These two were unstoppable. But here's the thing about Unrivaled that nobody wants to admit out loud. This league has become known for one thing, and it's not the beautiful basketball. It's the physicality, the pushing, the shoving, the clotheslining. Some fans are literally calling it WWE with a basketball. And while the viewership numbers have dipped, yeah, I said it, the headlines keep coming. Because every week, there's a new confrontation, a new viral moment, a new reason for people to talk. And Alyssa Thomas, she's been at the center of a lot of it. Now look, I'm not here to bash anybody. Alyssa Thomas is a talented player, multiple MVP candidate, triple-double machine. But some fans have started questioning whether her style of play crosses a line. One tweet that caught my eye said this: Alyssa Thomas being a consistent MVP candidate is a bad look for the league. Can you imagine Draymond Green being a regular MVP candidate in the NBA? Harsh? Maybe, but it's how a growing number of fans feel. And when Aaliyah Boston, someone who embodies class and sportsmanship, finally had enough, when she stopped being polite and started being real, the internet didn't just notice, it erupted. But here's what's even crazier. This situation with Aaliyah and Alyssa, it's happening at the worst possible time. Because right now, the entire WNBA is teetering on the edge of something catastrophic. And it all comes down to 3 letters. CBA. The WNBA might not have a 2026 season. Let that sink in for a second. Right now, as we speak, there's a war happening behind closed doors. A war that could shut down the entire league. And the players you love? Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark, all of them, they might be sitting at home instead of playing basketball. This is a CBA situation, the collective bargaining agreement, and it's an absolute mess. Here's what happened. The early January deadline came and went. No deal. Nothing. The owners and the players' union couldn't agree. And now, with less than 4 months until the 2026 season is supposed to start, we're staring down the barrel of a potential lockout. A lockout in the WNBA. Right when the league is finally getting mainstream attention. Right when Caitlin Clark brought millions of new eyeballs to the sport. Right when ratings were climbing. Arenas were filling up. Sponsors were lining up. And now it could all come crashing down. But here's where it gets interesting. Remember Unrivaled? The league where Aaliyah Boston just went viral? The same league that's been making headlines for its physical play and dramatic moments? There's a theory floating around, and it's controversial. Some people believe that certain players, specifically Nafisa Collier and Breanna Stewart, shouldn't be on the CBA negotiating committee. Why? Because they're also co-founders of Unrivaled. They have a competing interest. And if the WNBA goes into a lockout, guess which league benefits the most? Unrivaled. And Project B, another emerging league that's been signing WNBA stars left and right. Think about it. If there's no WNBA season, where do the players go? Where do the fans go? Straight to these alternative leagues. The same leagues that are already pulling superstars away. The same leagues that are creating their own viral moments, like what just happened with Aaliyah Boston and Alyssa Thomas. Coincidence? Maybe, but the optics are terrible. And it's not just fans who are worried. One of the most respected voices in women's basketball just spoke out. Someone who's been covering the sport for decades. Someone who isn't afraid to tell the truth. Rebecca Lobo. And what she said, it's sending shockwaves to the entire WNBA community because she's pointing the finger directly at the players. And her warning? It might already be too late. Rebecca Lobo is worried. And when Rebecca Lobo worries, you need to pay attention. This woman is a legend, a Hall of Famer, a national champion. She's been covering the WNBA for ESPN for years. She's seen the highs. She's seen the lows. She knows this league inside and out. And right now, she's sounding the alarm. Here's exactly what she said during a recent podcast appearance on A Touch More. Some of the rhetoric I've heard from their side has been a little bit troublesome. She's talking about the players, the union, the way they've been handling these CBA negotiations in public. But it gets worse. When a deal is presented that's over $1 million max salary and revenue share, and it's called a slap in the face, just use different words. Let that sink in. The WNBA offered the players a deal that includes max salaries over $1 million, a deal that includes revenue sharing, something players have been demanding for years. And the players' response? They called it a slap in the face. Now, look, I get it. The players deserve to be paid. They deserve respect. They've been fighting for quality for decades. And after the Caitlin Clark boom, after ratings exploded and arenas sold out, they have every right to demand their fair share. But here's the problem. Optics matter. And right now, the optics are terrible. Remember the All-Star weekend? The players came out wearing shirts that said, "Pay us what they owe us." Bold move. Powerful statement. Fans were behind them. The momentum was on their side, but then the negotiations started, and the tone changed. Now, Fisa Collier started making statements like, "I know how to get deals done." The union started calling offers insulting. The language got aggressive, confrontational, and slowly but surely, the fans started turning. Rebecca Lobo sees it. She said it plainly. "I'm worried the players might be getting to the point where they're losing some support from the public." And here's the brutal truth. When you're making six figures, when you're being offered seven figures, and you call that a slap in the face, the average person watching at home, the one making $50,000 a year, they don't feel sympathy anymore. They feel resentment. And that resentment, it's growing. But there's another layer to this story. Something happening behind the scenes that could change everything. The WNBA is trying to buy back something they sold. And what they sold, it might be the very thing destroying these negotiations. Back in 2022, the WNBA made a decision that seemed smart at the time, a decision that brought in desperately needed capital, a decision that helped the league grow, expand, and reach new heights. They sold 16% of the league to outside investors. 16%. That might not sound like a lot, but in the world of professional sports ownership, that's massive. Those investors didn't just write a check and walk away. No, they became owners. They got a seat at the table. They got a voice in how this league operates. And now, the WNBA wants it back. Alexa Filippa broke this story wide open. She reported that the WNBA is actively exploring buying back that 16% stake. The league is reviewing the capital structure. They're trying to undo what they did just 3 years ago. But here's the question nobody's asking. Why now? Why? In the middle of the most contentious CBA negotiations in league history, is the WNBA suddenly desperate to buy out these investors? Here's my theory, and it's just a theory, but it makes too much sense to ignore. Those investors, the ones who bought that 16%, they're part of the ownership group now. They have influence, they have power, and they have their own interests that might not align with what's best for players. Could these investors be the ones stalling the CBA negotiations? Think about it. The WNBA wants to grow. The players want to get paid. Everyone should be on the same page. But somewhere, something is blocking progress. Somewhere, someone is saying no. Somewhere, there's a group that benefits more from chaos than from resolution. And those investors, they might be that group. If the WNBA can buy back that 16%, they remove a major obstacle. They consolidate power. They can negotiate freely without outside interference. But there's a problem. Buying back that stake won't be cheap. Some analysts say those investors would never sell. Not this early, not when the league is finally becoming valuable. One comment I saw put it perfectly. I don't see any investor willing to sell their stake this early in the game. So the WNBA is stuck, trapped by their own decision. And the players, the fans, everyone's caught in the crossfire. But this story isn't just about money and ownership. It's about something more personal. It's about Aaliyah Boston and what this chaos means for her future. Let's bring this back to Aaliyah Boston. Because while all this drama is unfolding, the CBA mess, the ownership chaos, the league's uncertain future, she's the one whose face is plastered all over social media right now. She's the one trending. She's the one everyone's talking about. And honestly, that viral moment with Alyssa Thomas might be the best thing that ever happened to her career. Here's why. Before that game, Aaliyah Boston was respected. She was accomplished. She had all those accolades we talked about. But she was also seen as soft, too nice, too polite, the kind of player who would get pushed around in the playoffs and just smile through it. Some fans even started questioning her toughness. Last year in Unrivaled, she struggled. She didn't dominate like people expected. And quietly, whispers started spreading. Can she handle the physicality? Can she be aggressive when it matters? But then this season happened. She came back stronger, more focused, more confident. And in that game against Alyssa Thomas, she finally showed the world what she's capable of when someone tests her. She didn't back down. She didn't stay silent. She stood her ground. She got in someone's face. She showed emotion. She showed fire. And the fans, they loved it. Comments flooded in. That's my AB. Spicy Aaliyah is the best Aaliyah. I love seeing her stand up for herself. Even people who weren't Fever fans started paying attention because everyone loves a good transformation story. Everyone loves seeing the quiet kid finally snap back at the bully. But here's where it gets complicated. That fire, that aggression, it's exactly what's making Unrivaled so popular and so controversial. Unrivaled is building its brand on these moments. The physicality, the drama, the confrontations. It's not just basketball anymore. It's entertainment. It's storylines. It's personalities clashing. And the WNBA, they're watching. They're seeing their stars create viral moments in a competing league. They're seeing players like Aaliyah Boston become more popular because of what happens in Unrivaled, not because of what they did in the WNBA season. That's a problem. Because of Unrivaled is where the excitement is. If that's where the viral moments happen, why would casual fans care about the WNBA? Especially if there's number 2026 season. Especially if these CBA negotiations keep dragging on. The WNBA is losing control of its own narrative. And there's one person who everyone's blaming for this disaster. Cathy Engelbert, the commissioner of the WNBA. The person who's supposed to be steering this ship. The leader who's supposed to protect the league, grow the brand, and keep everyone happy. Right now, she's public enemy number one. Fans are calling for her resignation. Players are frustrated. Owners are questioning her leadership. And the media, they're tearing apart every decision she's made over the past year. But here's the thing. Is it all her fault? Or is she just a scapegoat for a much bigger problem? Let's look at the facts. Under Cathy Engelbert's leadership, the WNBA has grown more in the past 2 years than it did in the previous decade. Ratings are up, attendance is up, sponsorship deals are flooding in. The Caitlin Clark effect brought millions of new fans to the sport. She presided over the most successful season in WNBA history. So why is everyone blaming her? Because none of that matters if there's number 2026 season. Because all that growth means nothing if the league locks out its players. And right now, it looks like the CBA negotiations are falling apart on her watch. But let me give you another perspective. Maybe, just maybe, Cathy Engelbert is trying to save the league from itself. Think about it. The players are demanding a salary cap more than twice as high as the league's current offer. They want guaranteed contracts. They want better travel conditions, better facilities, better everything. And they deserve it. But here's the question nobody wants to ask. Can the league afford it? The WNBA still isn't profitable. Most teams lose money every year. The league survives because the NBA subsidizes it. And while the Caitlin Clark boost was real, one superstar doesn't fix decades of financial struggle. So when the players call $1 million max contract a slap in the face, when they demand revenue-sharing percentages that might bankrupt half the teams in the league, someone has to pump the brakes. Someone has to say, wait, let's be realistic here. And that someone is Cathy Engelbert, which makes her the villain in this story. But maybe she's not the villain. Maybe she's just the only adult in the room. Or maybe, and this is where it gets really interesting, maybe she's trying to buy back that 16% investor stake because those investors are the ones really blocking the deal. Maybe she knows something we don't. Maybe she's fighting a war on two fronts. Against the players on one side, against the investors on the other. And she's caught in the middle, taking all the blame while everyone else plays politics. That's the charitable interpretation. But there's another possibility. What if she's in over her head? What if she made promises she can't keep? What if her attempt to grow the league too fast is exactly what's causing this crisis? The truth? We don't know. But here's what we do know. The clock is ticking. And if a deal doesn't get done soon, everything falls apart. So what happens if the WNBA cancels the 2026 season? Let me walk you through the nightmare scenario. First, the players scatter. They go to Unrivaled. They go to Project B. They go overseas. They take whatever money they can get from whatever league will pay them. And suddenly, the WNBA isn't the premier destination for women's basketball anymore. It's just another option. Second, the fans disappear. The casual fans, the ones who just discovered the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark, they don't wait around for labor negotiations to resolve. They move on. They find something else to watch. And once you lose casual fans, you don't get them back. Third, the sponsors pull out. Because sponsors don't invest in chaos. They don't invest in uncertainty. They invest in stability, in growth, in guaranteed visibility. And a league that can't even get its players on the court, that's not worth their money. Fourth, the media coverage dies. ESPN isn't going to keep covering a league that doesn't exist. The storylines dry up. The highlights disappear. And suddenly, women's basketball is back to being an afterthought. Everything the WNBA built, everything they fought for over 27 years, could vanish in a single offseason. And here's the most heartbreaking part. The players would suffer the most. Yeah, the stars would be fine. Caitlin Clark, Aya Wilson, Breanna Stewart. They have endorsement deals worth millions. They have options. They'll land on their feet, no matter what happens. But what about everyone else? What about the role players? The veterans on minimum contracts? The rookies trying to establish themselves? The players who don't have shoe deals or social media followings? They're the ones who get crushed in a lockout. They're the ones who lose their health insurance, their retirement contributions, their only chance to play professional basketball in the United States. And for what? Because the union leaders, many of whom are already millionaires, refuse to compromise on principle? Now, I'm not saying the players are wrong to fight for what they deserve. I'm not saying they should just accept whatever the owners offer. But I am saying this. Sometimes, getting 80% of what you want is better than getting nothing. Sometimes, a good deal is better than no deal. Sometimes, you have to think about the bigger picture. And right now, the players' union doesn't seem to be thinking that way. Rebecca Lobo sees it. Veteran analysts see it. And slowly, painfully, fans are starting to see it too. The momentum is shifting. And not in the players' favor. But there's one more twist to this story. One more piece of the puzzle that changes everything. And it involves the person at the very center of this entire WNBA explosion. The rookie who changed everything. The player who brought millions of fans to women's basketball. The phenomenon who single-handedly elevated the entire sport. And right now, she's watching all of this fall apart. Because here's what nobody's talking about. Caitlin Clark's rookie contract pays her $76,535 per year. Let me say that again. The most popular player in women's basketball, the player who filled arenas across the country, who broke viewership records, who made the WNBA relevant to mainstream America, is making less than $80,000 a year from the league. She makes more from a single Instagram post than she does from her entire WNBA salary. And you know what? She didn't complain. She didn't call it a slap in the face. She didn't demand special treatment. She just went out and played basketball. But this is why the optics of the CBA negotiations are so brutal. When veteran players making six figures call $1 million max contract insulting, what message does that send to Caitlin Clark? What message does that send to the fans who watch her grind every single night for $76,000? It sends the wrong message. And here's where Aaliyah Boston comes back into this story. Because Aaliyah and Caitlin, they're teammates. They're the future of the Indiana Fever. They're supposed to be building something special together. Last season, they showed flashes of brilliance, the chemistry, the potential. Caitlin orchestrating the offense. Aaliyah dominating in the paint. These two were supposed to lead the Fever to championships. Plural. But what if there's number 2026 season? What if the momentum they built, the connection they developed, just evaporates during a lockout? What if by the time the WNBA comes back, the moment has passed? Caitlin will only be a rookie once. You can't get that back. You can't recapture that energy, that excitement, that cultural phenomenon. And Aaliyah, she's finally found her edge. She's finally showing the toughness, the fire, the competitive spirit that can make her elite. But that's happening in Unrivaled, not in the WNBA. So what does that tell you about where this league is headed? The future of the WNBA is playing out in competing leagues. The viral moments are happening somewhere else. The growth, the excitement, the passion, it's all being channeled away from the league that's supposed to be the pinnacle of women's basketball. And meanwhile, the people in charge are arguing about percentages and principle while Rome burns. Fans are watching this train wreck in real time, and they're starting to ask the hard questions. Do the players actually care about the league? Or do they just care about themselves? Is this about equality? Or is it about ego? Are we watching a justified fight for fair pay? Or are we watching millionaires throw away a golden opportunity because they want to be billionaires? The answers to those questions will determine everything. The future of the WNBA, the future of Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark, the future of women's basketball in America, and the clock is running out. So here we are. Aaliyah Boston is going viral for finally showing some fire. Caitlin Clark is making pennies while transforming an entire sport. The WNBA is trying to buy back ownership from investors who might be sabotaging negotiations. Rebecca Lobo is warning that players are losing fan support, and the entire 2026 season hangs in the balance. This is the crossroads, and what happens next will define women's basketball for the next decade. Here's my take. That moment between Aaliyah Boston and Alyssa Thomas, it matters. Not because of the confrontation itself, but because it shows us where the passion is, where the emotion is, where fans are actually engaged. People want to see players who care, players who fight, players who show up and leave everything on the court. But here's the brutal truth. None of that matters if there's no league to play in. The WNBA is at a tipping point. They survived for 27 years on hope and subsidies. They finally caught lightning in a bottle with Caitlin Clark. They finally have mainstream attention. Sellout crowds, primetime games, celebrity fans, and they're about to throw it all away. Because both sides are so busy fighting over the size of the pie that they're letting the whole thing burn in the oven. The players want more money. They deserve it. But calling million-dollar contract a slap in the face when your league's biggest star makes $76,000? That's tone deaf. The owners want to protect their investment. Fair enough. But trying to lowball players during the most profitable era in league history? That's short-sighted. And Cathy Engelbert? Whether she's a hero trying to save the league or the villain destroying it, history will decide. But right now, she's running out of time. Here's what needs to happen. Someone needs to be the adult. Someone needs to compromise. Someone needs to care more about the survival of women's basketball than about winning a negotiation. Because if the season gets canceled, Aaliyah Boston will keep making viral moments in Unrivaled. Caitlin Clark will keep selling out arenas wherever she plays. And the WNBA? It'll become a cautionary tale about how you can have everything and still lose it all. So I'm asking you, what do you think? Are the players right to hold the line? Are the owners justified in their offer? Is this whole mess Cathy Engelbert's fault? Or is everyone to blame? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because this conversation is just getting started. And trust me, what happens in the next few weeks will shock everyone. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit that notification bell, because when this story breaks wide open, you're going to want to be here. This is the future of the WNBA, and we're all watching it unfold in real time.